Hi guys. Very difficult concept to grasp is the concept of scale. It can be very confusing. What is scale? There's several meanings when we use this term. You have map scale and you have your world view scale. In, re in relationship to map scale, scale is a relationship between map units and the actual distance on Earth. The smaller the scale, the smaller everything is, and a larger area is shown or covered. Ratio or fraction scale gives the relationship as a ratio. For example, 1 to 100,000 is that 1 unit on the map equals 100,000 units on the ground. In a written scale, units are expressed in a convenient way. For example, 1 centimeter equals 1 kilometer. A graphic scale is given by a scale bar showing the distance represented on the Earth's surface. Think of a map as a fraction. Obviously, 1/4 is greater than 1/8. 1/4 is closer to the same as the whole thing than is 1/8. Just as a side note, architects use 1/4 inch scale to equal 1 foot, generally speaking. A map that is 1 to 54,000 scale has a larger scale than a map that is 1 to 1 million, meaning you see more detail. And here's one way to remember it. Large scale equals large detail, and it's zoomed in. Another thing we talk about when we talk about scale is the world view. We also talk about scale in regards to our view of the world, our perspective and our vantage point, and the area we're focused on. It's all relative to some other scale. While map scale is literal, worldview scale is more figurative in nature. There can be local scale or level, for example, things that happen around us that are close by and locally. For example, Lake City would be an example comparative to Florida. At the regional scale or level, in other words, things that happen at a regional level of which the local is still a part, Florida, the South, or the U.S., compared to the rest of the world as a whole. And then we have the global scale or level. For instance, things that can be said to be universal about everywhere, the world as a whole. Worldview scale, what is true at one scale might not hold true at a larger scale. Look at the following maps of election results from 2012. These are the presidential election maps. This is the national level, the national scale. The red are the counties that voted for Romney. Blue are the counties that voted for Obama. You see up here in the Northeast and in many urban areas, he had a lot of support. He had support from those areas that are highly concentrated in African Americans and immigrants or urban centers, South Florida, Mississippi, the heart of the agricultural belt through here. He also had support from immigrants along these border areas, California, southern Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and over here in Florida. Here's a map, just Florida, how Florida voted. Notice all the red for Romney and just the few blue for Obama, and yet Obama took more votes. He had support in large urban areas and college towns. Here's Gainesville. USF is in Tampa. You have several colleges in Miami. You have UCF in Orlando. He had support in densely populated African American communities in the seats of government. This is where Tallahassee is, and then you have Quincy right here, heavily populated. But why didn't he take Pensacola or Jacksonville? Here's Pensacola right here, and here's Jacksonville right here. The answer is there's a heavy military presence there and historically conservative. So even though Obama took relatively few counties in Florida, he still had more votes. And here's a closer look at our area. Columbia County right here, overall voted for Romney. This is Alachua County. What is true at the local level, Columbia County, was not true for Florida or the U.S. Obama won in Florida and obviously the country. Here's a baseball analogy. If you consider one at-bat that a hitter has, that's the local level. One game, then, could be considered like the regional level, because over the course of a game, a batter may have 3, 4, 5 at-bats. But then when you look at an entire 162 game season, that's the global level. Things on a global level are usually very non-specific. Here's summing it all up. The smaller the scale, the smaller everything is. The larger the scale, the larger the detail. Local, regional, and global views of things are all in relation to some other view and might all be different.